The Super Metal Brothers podcast is the best. Really great stuff. I was in my car listening, and I was like, there just is not a better podcast.
All right. Welcome to Super Metal Brothers. Finally back into an album review of a killer album, a doozy of an album, Cattle Decap. I don't even remember the name of this one. I'm so excited about it. It is Terrasite.
Terrasite, yeah.
Highly anticipated album by quite a few people. I mean, people have been ranting and raving about it for like most of the year. Finally dropped, and it met probably every expectation. If you're new to our album reviews, this is not a reaction. And if you watch our reactions and that's what brought you to us, this is, we've already heard the album multiple times, and this is us doing like a deep dive review as much as we can into the music, the band, so on and so forth. We're doing Cattle Decap.
For the funny rant shit, there was a lot to really draw inspiration from, whether it be like fucking bug people to total gatekeeper, death grind kids. Let's see what else. We got fucking black pilled fucking doomers shit, which is pretty much a staple for Cattle Decap. I suppose it's a positive message, but
yeah.
black trees.
I mean, we can go into the let's start with this. This is why Cattle Decap was a band that I stayed away from historically, and here's why. Not because I knew their music and didn't like it. I've actually never had listened to Cattle Decap before this year. I heard people ranting and raving about it, so I started digging in and going, oh wow, this band's good. But I've noticed fan-wise, this band has some of the biggest gatekeeper people that like Cattle Decap's the greatest, you don't even know actually friggin' people. They've been around for a long time, and if you've been a Cattle Decap fan since the beginning, I mean, kudos to you. You really saw something that was deep, because they've been underground for a while.
So much so that even fucking Travis Ryan, the vocalist, is afraid of it. He had an interview where he was talking about when they were planning to release Monolith of Inhumanity. And that, I believe that was the album where they started fucking around, experimenting with cleans. And even he was like, dude, this is going to be fucking career suicide. But, oh, well, here we go. And you know, it's funny. I actually found another review, because I like to see what other reviews say, just out of curiosity. Most people are giving it just stellar reviews, but there was like one dude on this review site that like gave it a 10% out of 100. He's like, this is fucking bullshit. This is fucking the Atlas War B-sides. If anybody says anything different, you're fucking lying. They haven't had a good sound since the Monolith of Inhumanity. Without a doubt, despite how it may sound, that's probably the biggest Cattle Decapitation fan to exist, is the dude shitting on them right now.
Yeah. And you know, we have a video on Facebook right now that's Parkway Drive, and it's over a lot of their songs, like overdubbed over the Star Wars, like Anakin, you know, falling in love with Padme, all the way to where he like chokes her out and then friggin' turns into Darth Vader. And the illusion we're making there is that, you know, about Reverence, when they came out with that album, they completely changed to like, basically they became a completely different thing. They followed a path that we couldn't follow. And still a Parkway fan. I think that people who maybe have been with Cattle Decap since the beginning probably feel that way, because their original sound to their sound now are two completely different things. They were like more just like straight grindcore in the beginning, and now they have a lot more elements of cleans and just explore their music a lot more. I still think they fall right in with it. They've just evolved over time. And people are commenting on that video I posted, telling me the same thing I'm about to say, is like, bands evolve, man. It's okay. You know?
Yeah, but
like,
dude,
one guy called us pussies because we thought that they changed.
I mean, let's be honest, dude. Like, I mean, I would say if you go back beyond, like further back down their discography, I would say beyond Monolith, that's when you start getting into the real grimy booger kid shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
beyond that.
They've cleaned up, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of what I attribute. Is it now I'll preface this by saying that their newest album, Terrasite, is very refined and probably calmed down a little bit compared to like their entire fucking discography, which has been going on basically since I was a young child. Dude, they're still heavy as shit. I'm sorry if that's not heavy enough for you, dude. Fucking, it had me wanting to fucking hurt people. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, dude. I don't know what
Yeah.
you need to listen to fucking get off, dude, but goddamn.
Yeah, and Terrasite obviously is if anybody sees the album cover, it's got a like a roachy human, like humanoid thing on the front.
One thing I will say though, I'm sorry, but most of their album covers are fucking garbage. I'm just gonna go ahead and
I
say
thought this
that,
one
dude.
was cool. I
It's
mean, it's
alright.
cool. It matches the concept of the lyrics, definitely. It reminded me of a movie that you brought up, which was Mimic.
Yeah.
You remember that movie? When did that movie come out? Like 90s?
Oh yeah, dude. I think Mimic came out like 94, probably around the time that Cattle Decap started. Is when Mimic.
Yeah.
That was like, I think that was like Guillermo del Toro's one of his very first movies when that
Yeah.
came out. And it's, you know what, dude? It still holds up as a fucking horror flick. That shit
No,
was
it doesn't.
terrifying, man.
No, it doesn't. That shit's horrible, man.
No, did you watch
I
it?
disagree. Yeah, I watched it recently.
I'm sorry.
It
dude.
was well, like I guess the concept's good. Well, let's talk about this. So
Okay.
in the beginning of the movie, you know, they find the Judas bug or whatever the fuck they were calling it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they start, you know, they start realizing there's some like weird roachy fucking creature running around that they don't know about. But like you have like the roach dude like hiding in the shadows the whole time. It seems like it's like almost human.
Yeah.
But then like you get further in the movie and they just completely give up on the idea that these it's like something that thinks, and it just becomes like this like crazy killer, like, you know, hive mind thing. That thing bothered me. But the thing that bothered
Fair
me
enough.
the thing about me most about the movie were the two kids in the fucking beginning, because they were just totally like a New Yorker kid fucking stereotype. Hey,
Yeah.
yo, you the bug lady? You know, like that's
Yeah.
the first thing they say. We got to make our cash, bro. And they have like they're like they find a bug and decide to sell it to this lady. Like what fucking premise is this even on? Like what kids are running around like we found this cool bug, let's sell it to the bug lady that we met. It's like the fuck, no New York. I mean, our stepdad was a New Yorker, so that's my only real frame of reference. And he was a piece of shit, so I know that he didn't think that deeply about shit. We found a bug.
Yeah, all the kids were coming to him like, let's go to the bug guy. His name's Doug.
I got a guy for everything. Oh, you found a bug? Let's sell it to the bug lady, dude. Yeah, no, that shit ain't happening. Then they just kill the kid out of fucking for no reason. Like there's a bunch of parts in them. Yeah, like they just go, they're looking in the subway because that's what everybody does in New York. They hang out in the subway, right? And fucking they just get eaten by fucking roaches, and there's no real reason to even have those characters other than to be like, hey, we're selling you this bug. It's basically the same idea as the beginning of Gremlins. You know, the Chinese dude who's like, oh, don't feed him at night. You know?
Yeah, like why the fuck are you even selling this thing to people, dude? But no, you know what, dude? That's fair. I'm sure it's dated as fuck. It's been a minute since I've seen the movie. I just remember when I was a kid, it terrified the fuck out of me. That scene that you're talking about with the kids when they get killed, dude, that scene was pretty fucking brutal, dude. And I honestly, being a kid, seeing that for the first time, I didn't know that like that was allowed. I was like, hey, you can't do that. Like you can't fucking kill kids, dude. I don't know, dude. The premise of like a giant fucking like basically cockroach, like praying mantis fucking hybrid, like killing people, dude, that shit's scary, dude. I don't know about you, man. I just I don't like bugs.
Well, maybe because I'm just revisiting it as an adult, it just lost its
Okay, would you rather be attacked by the fucking roach from Mimic or Jeff Goldblum when he turns into the fly? So,
Oh.
dickless Jeff Goldblum. Actually, that shit was pretty terrifying, dude. Do you remember when his body parts have fallen off and then like pans over to his shelf and his dick's just sitting on the shelf, dude?
That's fucking crazy.
Dude, when I saw that for the first time, I had the same facial expression as the roach on this Cattle Decap cover. I was like,
Dickless Jeff Goldblum. I mean, I'd rather be attacked by dicked Jeff Goldblum, I guess. At least it'd be fun.
No, here, I'll do you one better. I'll take the fucking Mimic roach that can look like Jeff Goldblum with a dick. But then when
Okay.
it gets up closer, it reveals that it's just a fucking a bug.
The face doesn't separate, the dick separates.
Yeah. But it still has Jeff Goldblum's face. Like,
It's like, oh, it mimics its predator, and its
It's just-
predator is Jeff Goldblum's dick.
and it's just him with the facial expression like, like that smug, like,
Yeah.
that was a good
the
rant,
fact that
dude.
they tried to make him out to be a sexy dude in Jurassic Park still blows my mind. 'Cause,
Yeah, where he had like the Michael Jackson hair, dude.
yeah,
Like,
he's Mr. Steal Your Girl in Jurassic Park.
yeah,
That dude ain't stealing nobody's girl.
he had that fucking hairdo from Coming to America, the Soul Glow. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
shit.
mean, so Terrasite going to it. So for anybody who doesn't know, maybe you're new to Cattle Decap. They started off as a vegan band, or at least that's what, was published about them. That was like the hype about them. And at that time, the straight bands who weren't doing drugs and were on like the super like vegan trip and all that stuff was kind of a big thing. And I think from what I read, they did start off as an all vegan band. And a lot of their lyrics over time have been about just, animal cruelty, and they've concentrated on the human effect on the earth, and basically just focused on just human or scum and are a virus on the earth. And
Yeah.
I know they've touched that subject throughout the years. This album, they've really honed in on that concept completely on the
Yeah.
Terrasite, and it's basically a concept album because every song's about it. I think the majority of the lyrics are all covering some aspect of that, of just how humans suck. And they did used to concentrate on a lot of the, animal cruelty stuff in the beginning, and this one's more leaned on just human suck. So they did have a lot of hype in that way. Today, it seems like not all of them are vegan. Actually, I think there's only like 2 of them that even claim to be vegetarian at this point.
Yeah.
And they even say that it's because if you're on the road, it's impossible to be vegan, dude. It's just,
Yeah.
you just can't do it.
Well, and listen,
they would
dude,
like to be.
I actually tried to go vegetarian for a month. I did succeed. I went vegetarian for a whole month just to try it. And I'll tell you what, dude. Most of my diet consisted of fucking Impossible Whoppers, dude, because vegetarian food sucks ass. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, dude. It's fucking
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, there's no way to cook tofu that doesn't make me want to kill an animal. I'm sorry.
Not just because I'm hungry, but I'm also pissed off with how tasteless this fucking tofu is,
I
dude.
need to destroy something cute now.
You know what, dude? I fucking love animals, dude. I honestly, ironically enough, I feel like Travis is kind of my spirit animal because I have a lot of fucking love for animals, but I'm also very fucking doomer, filled with misanthropic thoughts of just hating fucking human beings, dude. So
That's
I
fair.
get it, dude. I fucking get it.
You want to get into the details of the album?
Yeah, dude. So obviously, album name is Terrasite by Cattle Decap. The release date was May 12th, 2023. There's 10 tracks on it. The length of the album is running time about 52 minutes and 32 seconds. Band is from San Diego, California. And as of right now, the members that we have consist of obviously Travis Ryan on vocals. We have Dave McGraw on drums. Lead guitar is done by Josh Elmore. Bass is done by Olivier Pinnard. And then for rhythm, this was a touring guitarist for a long time, and they actually finally brought him on as official member. For rhythm guitar, we have Belisario DiMuzio.
DiMuzio, I think, is a Muzio.
Sounds very exotic.
Super Italian, maybe? I don't know. So they call themselves, at least from what I've seen, death grind is the genre. Not that it really matters these days. Death grind and death metal, what's the difference these days? So that's pretty much the band. Like we said, they started off as a all vegan band was kind of their shtick, and now they're still kind of on that idea, but have moved away from that.
I'll add another thing to that. So strangely enough, there's no original members, but Travis Ryan basically did join the band before they had their first release, which was like a demo or EP. So, I mean, he's basically by all accounts, the only original member, if any. He's been in the band since like 96. Or whatever it is, and then
quite a while. That dude's I think he is 50. He might be nearing 50, but he's not a youngin at all by any means.
Nah,
been in the game for a while.
Been in the game a long time.
And just worth mentioning is that before the release on 12 May, they did have 2 singles off this album. That was "Weed Are Young," which came out on February 16th, and then 29 March they did "Scourge of Offspring" was released. So 2 single releases. This is really like now bands I feel like are doing more single releases up until their albums, like half of the albums out before they release. Yeah. And they kind of followed that old school method of give them a couple and then hit them with the album. And I would say We Are Young and Scourge of the Offspring, we'll get into the details here in a minute, but those are pretty strong releases and really got people hyped up about the album completely. So, and one story I wanted to tell, because I just thought it was a really endearing story about the type of person or type of band this is I can't remember what year it was, but I guess they had like a concert. This is, I think, in the 90s.
I think it was in 2018, actually. I think it was sooner than I know what story you're talking about. Let me just double check. It was about the Native Americans, right?
Yeah.
So I think like that was pretty recent.
Native American guys which showed up to their show, and I guess they got profiled in some way, like for wearing dark clothing and standing in the back of the venue, which like that's like every death metal fan. So that's kind of weird that the security or whoever it was would profile them that way. When Cattle Decapitation found out about it, they gave them lifetime tickets to come to any show that they ever want. They're on the guest list permanently. I just thought it was cool. They look out for their fans, and they really do try to be like fair to everybody. So this band, like, you have this violent music in a way, but they really are looking to do better for the world. I know they've done things like charity wise and stuff like that for the, health and well-being of animals and so on and so forth. So if you're like one of those people on the that's into that stuff, you can get into this band just on those like actions alone.
They stick to their values, and the message that they're putting out there as a band, which is, it's awesome to see, man. You just see so much edgy shit as far as the lyrics go. And I mean, while that's all good and fun at times, it's nice to see a band that does take things seriously, are really just down to earth good people that have a message that they really want to express through their music.
So I say we get into the details of the songs. So like we said, 10 tracks. The first track of which is Terrasite Adaptation. I got the first sample off of this one. So this was probably one of my top songs off the album. It's a great start. They don't give us much in solos on this album, which I like. They don't force it every song. They give it to you when it's relevant. I'm going to go ahead and play that clip. I love that ambience. All right, we'll go ahead and stop it there. The solo, like super skillful solo. Don't give us too much of it. It's not too show offy.
Yeah.
It just goes right into it, gives you something that's like, whoa. And then all of a sudden it comes into that like kind of breakdown, if you will. That's kind of choppy riff, and then gives you that ambience. And then Travis Ryan comes in with that really high pitch, like almost clean that he does. That's become his signature as of late for Cattle Decap. And actually, that one wasn't so catchy for me, but there's a couple spots in this album where he caught some really catchy hooks that I really like. So
clip I was gonna play, I'm glad you played that part, showcasing the chorus, but this part I wanted to show, just kind of show off some lyrics if you can understand them. So I'll read the lyrics to you. We're coming from everywhere, a Promethean infestation, anthropomorphic invasion that's born from fire, roach-like survivor, return to consume and populate, terraform, occupier. And I'll allude to this throughout this review, but I didn't know it was possible to just over a decade now, fucking close to 2 decades, they've been writing just misanthropic fucking lyrics, just like fuck people basically, but they shape them in such a way, dude, every time. Travis has got to be fucking tired at this point. He's like, how can I spin this to have a message, but still also say fuck humans, but have it be original?
yeah.
But he does it every time, dude. He seems like a very well-read person, dude. Just based off the lyrics he uses, he's very linguistically sound. So example I'm going to play is right around the 4:10 mark. And I mean, this also just showcases just some of his fucking insane vocal talents that Travis has. Yeah, and we'll end it there. I see now, after listening to this album, where all these freaking vocalists get it from now. And I'll play more examples as we go along. But I mean, Travis is just fucking top notch when it comes to vocals, but he's not showboaty at all.
Yeah, they have that right balance of they can do the stuff, but they don't show off, and it's really strange. Like his vocals are just so honed in, man. It's crazy to see.
Moving on to the next track, we have We Eat Our Young sitting at number 2. I really love the fast-paced rhythm of this song. It's just a good example of just straight to business fucking death metal. No one knows how to do it better than fucking Cattle Decap. I would say the lyrics on this one were probably a little weaker compared to the rest of the album, but it was a solid song. You got anything for it?
Yeah, I do. So I do have a timestamp on it. It's funny you said that, because actually this timestamp, I like the lyrics on this particular part. So
interesting.
We agree to disagree on this one. That's okay. All right, we could stop it there. So I'll read the lyrics on that first part where he was kind of like rapping it, which
Enlighten me.
We've upped the ante as the most invasive species of life that ever shat on this earth, that learned to shit in its hearth, that ever bore living birth, that taught its offspring to drive its own hearse straight into the dirt. I think that's a dirty friggin' lyric, the way he sang it and just what he was saying there.
Well, and I love his style for like rhyme scheming.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah, yeah.
mean? It's obviously very aggressive, but it's poetry to him. He writes it like poetry. You know, it'd be funny. We need to get an AI that reads fucking metal lyrics in like Ben Shapiro voice.
That'd be awesome.
Human beings that shat on this earth. See, people, this is what the left wants. Okay. They want you to listen to violent music, by the way, that advocates and perpetuates violence against hookers. Okay. Dismembering their still warm bodies because that's what fits their woke agenda. Okay. This is what they're going to do. All right. This is what they want.
Yeah, you're getting good at the friggin' impersonations,
Or
man.
the Jordan Peterson. I want to watch you suck his dick. Yeah, dude, I should just fucking use my voice for AI generation.
Just you could be the voice. Yeah, so that's the only clip I had for Weed Are Young. Like I said, that was a single off the album. I think that was the second single, if I remember correctly. And then the next song, the third track on the album, is Scourge of the Offspring, which also was a single.
I'll go ahead and say this one, yeah, I think we both might have had timestamps on the. I for sure did. This was actually probably set at my number one. I mean, this is the single that caught me immediately when I had heard it. I fucking love this song. Definitely in my top 5.
Yeah, I'll play my clips as it comes up first. I just really like the drum part on this, so I'll bring it up. All right, we could stop it there. So I just really like the drummers really driving that fucking home in that part. And like the way he's hitting the cymbals, man, it just sounds ridiculous. And it's so raw and aggressive. You know, there's no finesse to it. It's just raw aggression, dude.
Yeah, when I saw you had picked basically that same time stamp, I was like, oh, I'll let him have it. That riff that comes in there, and then the drum rolls that like kind of pair with it. But I agree with you that the drums kind of steal the show right there. But when you pair it with Travis's fucking like rhythmic vocals along with it, it's just masterfully done for that part, dude. I fucking love it. That's definitely one of my favorite riffs too.
Oh yeah, dude. That's just sick.
And then another thing is, because there was 3 music videos that they had released with this album, and this song, Scourge of the Offspring, includes one of them. If you watch the video, this has probably one of the best like iterations of AI art mingled in with the song. It just gives it this visual aesthetic that it almost plays into like the message you're trying to get through with the song, which is like we're basically fucked on multiple levels. Like no matter how you look at it, we're fucked. So next we're going to go into, and this is just another reason why the song was in my top 5. The chorus on this song is fucking incredible.
All right, we'll stop it there.
Dude, that chorus fucking hits, man. And the words, if you weren't able to understand them, what he says is, what a wondrous life this would have been. but I'm outnumbered. Like the stars at night, there's so many of us that need to die. Like a swarm of flies, there's too many of us. Ah, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Yeah.
it's so crazy to me. This album's just blown me away, dude. Because as aggressive as it is, it's also very like philosophical and poetic.
And even that high pitched voice he does that he's become known for, the fact that he made that hook catchy really blows me away. Cause I could tell you that wouldn't be something I would normally listen to. Like
Yeah.
it's not something I would normally like. Somehow he took that thing he does and made it catchy, and it kind of blows me away too. Cause I
Yeah.
like that part. I keep coming back to the song and wanting to hear that hook.
I would say that what I like to call like the goblin or imp voice he does with his clean there, it's definitely his signature style that he's kind of implemented again since going back to Monolith. A lot of people were cool with it. That was the thing he would thought like was going to be career suicide, was basically implementing those. And it turned out a lot of people actually ended up liking it because it's unique. Now, I will say I agree with you that that's probably not something I would normally like, but it works on this album and it works for this band. I would say there's parts in certain songs because he does it multiple times throughout the course of this album. I would say there was probably a couple parts that I think might have benefited more from maybe like a deeper, like more robust, clean sound rather
That's
than
fair.
the imp voice. But I would say overall, like it's surprisingly good. Something I didn't anticipate that I would actually enjoy. So
Yeah. And that kind of leads me into the next track with the Insignificance. Actually, I felt like this is one where he kind of shows off like really what he can do with his vocals. He really is like a vocal unicorn, man, especially for someone who's been doing it this long. You know, the new kids around, they're always, have so much influence to draw from, where he started from a point where he didn't have as much. So I'm really just surprised that he's able to pull off all the stuff that he's able to pull off. So I'm gonna go up and bring up this clip since I have the only one on on this track. And really, I put the note here: Booger Kid lows. So listen for the lows. We've heard his highs. Now let's hear some lows. So I'll go ahead and stop it. So he's got those highs, those goblin highs, like we said before. And for people who don't listen to us very often, that Booger Kid thing, I call that all the time. It sounds like he has a lug just loaded up in the back of his throat while he's
yeah.
singing those low parts. And I like how he came out of it, went higher and higher. Like, dude, this album just really impressed me from the vocal standpoint in a way I didn't expect it to. That was my only clip from that one.
Something to really appreciate about all, because this really is my first exposure to like Cattle Decapitation, dude. And now I feel like I've been missing out this entire time. And now, like I had kind of alluded to before, was like I see where all these other vocalists are, where the influence comes from. So like a good example is you're going to hear parts where he has like some rapid fire gutturals, kind of reminiscent of Phil from Whitechapel, very similar in how those are approached. And then another thing that we gave so much credit to Taylor Barber in Left to Suffer, Travis does those same fucking trills. And I'm inclined to believe he's probably been doing those for a minute, where it's that, you know what I mean? Like where he trills it, like rolls it up his fucking throat, dude. And he has moments where he does that here. I'm like, it all makes sense now. I was like, dude, all these kids must have been listening to fucking Cattle Decap, where I was just being I was being the fucking booger kid by not listening to him. this whole time, dude. And you know what? Another thing I want to touch on with this song in particular was this was a good example. If you hear those heavy fucking jun-juns, dude, it felt like I was listening to like some hardcore
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
riffs,
yeah.
dude. And then at the end of the song, I would say around the like maybe the 3-minute mark, there's all these like almost blackened symphonics that come in at the end of the song. I think what my takeaway was like, if you're a hardcore Cattle Decap, maybe album will resonate with you, maybe it won't. Most seem to enjoy it, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's
pretty unanimously, with the exception of that one dude that fucking hated it. I found that this record, the more I dived into it, it really has something for everybody. Whatever extreme metal you're into, whether you're into blackened, fucking strictly death metal, deathcore, fucking slam, I think everybody on the extreme metal end can enjoy this album.
I had the same experience listening to it. It's just, it touches so many different genres, and vocally it was great. The guitar was great. I mean, there isn't anything about this album that was bad in my opinion. It's another banger.
I would say there was like a couple, honestly, one of the worst things I can say about this album as a whole is that there was probably a couple, maybe few tracks that just didn't really do anything for me. You know what I mean? But there wasn't like a heavy con that I could pinpoint within the album. But
Yeah,
we'll move on.
I felt like there was a couple songs that were overshadowed, you know, by the rest of the album. Yeah, that's fair.
Moving on. So at track number 5, we have The Storm Upstairs. This one is in my top 5 as well. This one's interesting because at first I wasn't sure how to make sense of it because it's kind of all over the place from a tempo standpoint. It changes pretty dramatically at the halfway point. It kind of starts with this slow buildup and then it just gets into this fucking crazy fast riffage and drum rolls that just feel absolutely relentless. And then I would say halfway through the song, it kind of loses steam and it shifts. The entire mood of the song shifts about halfway through.
So I'll go into this clip. So this takes place at the 125 point and kind of highlights exactly what you're talking about. A bunch of like, seems like tempo changes and things like that. So. Yeah, I'll stop it there. So that's prime example. Like there's all these like different changes. The bass got thrown in there. It's just like so much going on. I love sequences like that just break up the, monotony of like some music. And I always say I want to build music like that. That's why I enjoy it so much. So
yeah. So I'll go ahead and play my clip next, which is around the 250 mark. And the reason I'll showcase this, and then we'll kind of talk about this, this track in particular really thrives in the contrast in and of itself. All right, we can go ahead and pause it there. Yeah, so it's interesting because, like I said, I wasn't sure how to catch a groove with the song. It wasn't until I read the lyrics and I feel like they're such a seasoned band, I would feel like this is very methodical. Could be wrong. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't think so. So The Storm Upstairs, a lot of this song deals with a lot of mental health themes. It talks about, suicide, things like that. What I had noticed while reading the lyrics along with the song, those shifts were pivotal. I mean, obviously the lyrics told you what was going on, but so did the music as well. And what I mean by that was I feel like it has this slow, doomy build up where it's almost like very like depressing. And then it gets into the crazy fast riffage, which becomes like this state of anxiety or manic state. And then that shift comes with halfway through. It becomes very melancholy. Then it just gets super depressing by the end of it. It's almost like the stages of just like maybe not insanity, but like we'll just toss out, maybe like fucking bipolar, for example. Imagine going through the emotions or like having suicidal thoughts and the ups and downs that takes you through. And I felt like the music reflected that along with the lyrics. So it was like a journey it took you on. It was so masterfully done if that's the way they intended it, which I have no reason to believe why they wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I had trouble choosing between like my favorite songs, especially with these first like 7 tracks. All of them have something to offer. So let's move on. We'll go to the next one. So I got a clip on this one. This is probably where the album for me, minus A Photic Doom, which is probably my favorite song off the album. But the this one was like where I started getting, I don't know, blared out. But I did really like the vocals on it, so I just wanted to highlight Travis Ryan worship here. So the track is "And the World Will Go On Without You." This is track 6. So I'll go ahead and stop it. So, I mean, that just highlights amazingness of his vocals, man.
Yeah.
Like, what didn't he do there? Like
Yeah.
he did like a kind of bend up, bend down, high, low, and everything was in that 1 minute clip. It was pretty insane.
Yeah, I would say this is one of the songs that again probably didn't do much for me. I did the name of the song though kind of reminded me of something, and this world would go on without you. So strangely enough, Travis had done this interview with the Pit, and I kind of want to read some of it because this kind of shows just how insightful of a dude this is and how humble he is. In this interview, he goes on to say, I apologize, I forget the question that was being posed. I watched this happen to Job for a Cowboy. It's not that the Doom EP is some magical, amazing piece of art. It's that it benefited from timing and a cultural shift and hit a certain amount of certain age and type of people at a certain time. Around when the EP came out, they and Suicide Silence both went out on a 2-week West Coast tour, and when they came back, the world had changed. Job for a Cowboy's manager and label, who was a friend of ours, was asking us to take them out, and at the same time, I'm getting messages from Suicide Silence old bass player telling me they were blowing up and we should take them out on the road with us. A year or two later, we would have to open for Job for a Cowboy. Things just happen how they happen, and that's the evolution for you. I call it the Doom EP effect. It's not that it's this amazing bulletproof piece of art. It's just something that had the right amount of variables for it to pop. Just look at all of their records were objectively getting better and better musically until they stopped. It's just kind of crazy to me, like how many people may have, like we did, gloss over Cattle Decap because maybe at the time it was too extreme. Maybe we didn't understand, or maybe it's like he said, where the right things just didn't align in a way that was, benefited him in that way that it did for Job for a Cowboy. But it's kind of crazy that people were telling them, hey, take this band with you. And then all of a sudden they're opening up for them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy how that shit goes. And Travis just seems like a very humble dude that isn't bothered by necessarily by how successful the band is or not. Just that they're getting their message out there.
Yeah, I always wonder how many great albums were just lost in the void because of just bad timing. And there's no way to know what is good timing. I chalk that up to Morbid Angel, Gateways to Annihilation, I think is one of those albums. It was a great album. A lot of people, in that scene know about it. And it was like some kind of gateway album for a lot of people. But death metal really wasn't doing anything at that time. And no one was wanting to hear that shit. It was just another Morbid Angel album to a lot of people when it really was, I think, pretty crazy transitional album. If it came out today, it would be gold.
But you know what? Strangely enough, and to kind of touch on that quote by Travis is, I honestly think, and maybe I'm just being biased because now we're going through the fucking cycle of getting into Cattle Decap, but I really think this album could fucking, push them, capture more people within other extreme metal genres, dude. And
that's fair.
But I mean, they're one of those bands that, a lot of people look up to in the scene. I would say they stand as tall as, the Black Dahlia murder as far as like role models within the extreme metal music.
Yeah, and they've kept it largely together, over the years. Well, at least who's there now. I know they've had some band member changes, but
yeah.
Moving on, we'll go to Aphotic Doom. So I got 2 samples off this I wanted to go through. So I'm going to go through them and then we'll talk about them. So this first clip takes place at about 35 seconds. So yeah, that first clip I played there said the guitar verse that goes into the drop. I just thought it was crazy. And then I like how he rolls his R's in that vocal part. Just makes
That's
it
what
so
I was
cool,
talking
dude.
about with like the Taylor Barber. I was like, how long has he been doing this?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And the vocals there I really like too, which is geyser of light peers through the darkness. No ocean, no atmosphere. Hadean eon rise. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here. I thought it was pretty insane.
It's catchy, dude. And
it's catchy
like,
as shit.
Again, he's a fucking philosopher, dude. Telling you, man. That's just his style.
And then this song goes on, and they didn't give us much in guitar solos on this album, but we did get one here, so I'm about to play that one. It takes place at about 2:35 in the track. Dude, when he comes back in, he's like, Geyser of light. That shit, dude. It's so fucking dope.
Well, dude, and you notice in the video, like, I didn't realize that he probably does this because, like, to achieve a lot of different vocals, it's not so much about pressure as it is, like, just mouth shape. So I notice a lot of times, like, he has his tongue, like, off to the side to achieve a lot of those vocals, but that seems to be another signature style of his because I don't see a lot of people do it that way. And the cleans on this one were really fucking catchy too. I don't know
Yeah,
if
they
we
were.
have that clip, but the whole premise for this song is super interesting. It almost kind of, obviously, the metaphor being used is like the power struggle between light and darkness. There's a lot of symbolism between heaven and hell, and then how we're like the children left behind, born in the darkness, afraid of the light. But he also symbolizes Lucifer as being like this beacon of light, which I thought which is interesting. I don't know if they're like a satanic band. I don't really get that vibe from them. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's just like to to fucking hit the death metal status quo, I guess.
Yeah.
But
you gotta say Lucifer once.
yeah, exactly. No, this is probably my favorite solo off the album. Not that there was many, but
Yeah.
this is definitely one of my favorites. This song just fucking rips, dude. It's a really solid song.
I think they gave us 2 solos total on this album. At least 2 solos that I caught. Both of them they're short, sweet, and fucking skillful. So
yeah. Moving on to track number 8, we have Dead End Residence. Beginning riff, interestingly enough, I didn't originally have it, but I do actually want to play just a small bit of the opening riff of this. I want to see if you can. I got some vibes. So. And I'll just pause that. I just want to. So, ignoring like the drums and the rhythm guitar and all that.
yeah.
Just the top line guitar. You know what it sounds like? Is Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, you see, you're hearing Stone Temple Pilots. I do kind of hear what you're saying there, but actually, it reminded me more of Call of Cthulhu. But I do see what you're saying with Stone Temple Pilots.
That kind of took me back to, I forget the Stone Temple Pilots song. It was that album. It was the Core album.
Yeah, I know
what
like
you're
talking
talking best
about.
fucking album. But yeah. So it's got kind of that like their products
Is that
of
Wicked
their
Garden? Maybe I think that might be the opening to Wicked Garden. Possibly.
Oh
It's been a while.
yeah. You might be right. That was such a fucking solid album too.
Yeah.
Fucking love Stone Temple Pilots. Really, the thing I wanted to showcase with this song is just, again, we're just jerking off Travis and his vocals. This clip is right around the 3:02 mark, and you'll see the influence I was talking about with Whitechapel and Taylor Barber, Left to Suffer. And it's just hard not to draw influence from this guy because he's just so fucking, his technique is just so honed in on.
So
and
good.
Here we go. We'll pause it there. Yeah, I've got mad respect for, someone who just has it on lock like he
Yeah.
does, man.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying in the beginning, especially after Aphotic Doom. I the album started losing me a little bit, but not because it wasn't good, just because I had heard everything I needed to hear at that point, I guess, is what I'm going at it. So the other songs stand on their own, but definitely weren't my favorite by the end. So I actually think that they ordered these songs perfectly in terms of interest.
Maybe. I don't know. I actually found myself, so I'd say there's probably 3 tracks that didn't do much for me. And that was probably Dead End Residence, The Insignificance, and We Eat Our Young. Every other track I really enjoyed. But going into the next track, Solastalgia, these last 2 tracks I really liked, actually. So here's some groove parts I kind of want to highlight because these just had me fucking bob in my head. This is around the 140 mark. Yeah, I'll pause it there. And then I love how that groovy riff just gets amped up by that double bass there at the end of it.
Yeah, they nailed that.
Yeah.
If we didn't mention it, this track this is the 9th track on the album. This is Solastalgia. I think you say is how
Yeah,
you say it.
Solastalgia, probably.
Which means distress caused by an environmental change. I had to look up that word.
Yeah,
so
same.
It's like when something around you changes in your environment and that causes stress.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this song too. Super solid. Moving on to track number 10, Just Another Body, which at first didn't really catch me, but it actually turned out to be one of the more interesting songs on the album. And I have 2 clips for this one. So I'm going to play just the first intro. What I'm trying to highlight here is it starts with this very somber, dark piano piece in the intro, and then it moves on. Later on, you'll hear the same progression within a guitar riff. I'll pause it there. You know, I'm actually really surprised that that dark piano part didn't resonate with you.
I did like that, but everything it came after it really didn't do much for me the first time I listened to the song.
That's fair.
I do have to admit, I didn't make it through the full 10 minutes of the song a bunch of times.
Oh, man.
So,
okay, then we might have more than a couple clips here on our hands, because I feel like you missed out on probably some of your favorite shit.
Really?
Based on what we've talked about. All right, so now I'm going to show that riff I was talking about that follows the same exact progression as that piano. This is right around the 350, and this goes to about 435. Yeah, we'll pause it. And then it comes in with that like dark ambience to kind of support it. Dude, I love that part of the song. Lastly, and this is, I'll just find it real quick. This is another part. If you didn't listen to the whole 10 minutes, you might have missed out. And we had spoken about this earlier, where you'd mentioned that he might have taken some influence from Peter Steele from Typo Negative. I'll pause it there. Obviously not as deep as fucking Peter Steele, because that dude probably had a fucking like 2-foot dick. But and I guess like Typo Negative's a strange one. Maybe the tone of the voice was the only thing I could associate with it. Maybe not the music so much.
It was the pace and the phrasing.
Yeah.
I see what you're getting at. It was similar to something that Peter Steele would do. But actually, I've heard Travis do those really low vocals like that. And it was actually on Death Atlas, I think was the name of the song.
Okay.
Yeah, Death Atlas. So on Death Atlas, he has some like Typo Negative. If he's not inspired, they have inspired by Peter Steele on some of these parts. then they may have a similar influence, if that makes sense.
Whatever
Yeah.
that may be.
Yeah. So this one for me, I didn't get why it was 10 minutes long. I felt like
So-
it could have been shortened.
Can I tell you?
Go for it.
So here's my understanding of it. In that same interview from the pit that Travis spoke on, he had also mentioned this song in particular. So this was the final song to be written for the album. When they were about to head into the studio to record it, he had still had to write the lyrics for this song. This was the final song that he needed to write for. Right before they went into the studio, he had found out that one of his old bandmate and one of the founding members of Cattle Decapitation actually had just passed away. So while the lyrics of the song don't really act as maybe like a direct tribute to Gabe, who was the founding member of the band, the emotion that Travis puts into the song, I mean, starting from the dark piano and then it ends with a very somber symphony at the end of the song. I feel like maybe it did drag on long, but I feel like the song, the emotion of it, the musicality, whatever you want to call it, was the tribute to Gabe and him passing away.
That's fair.
And in fact, I think a lot of people saw that for what it was. And actually, you know what? I'll just go ahead and read the quote from Travis so he says, when asked about this song, it's absolutely cathartic. I guess you could apply the old dumb saying, doing this keeps me from killing someone, or some shit. I found myself in the most emotionally distressed point I had ever been in a while, having to write a specific song, and that would be the last song on the record, Just Another Body. I was in a bad place mentally and emotionally, just a fucking wreck. We had lost a couple of dear friends within just a couple weeks of each other, one being my good friend and co-founder of our band, Gabe Serbian. This happened the day we left to record Terrasite, and I still had one song left to write, which also happened to be the most emotionally retching track on the record. I never thought I'd get that personal in a Cattle Decapitation lyric. There are a few on this record that hit a little too close to home, and in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have written it because I'm not exactly out here trying to talk about this shit with other people. So I feel like that for me really helped give it the impact for it to be in my top 5 as a song. Because now I can feel the emotion behind it.
That's fair. I might have to give it a new listen. You know, sometimes the history helps you along with listening to it. I mean, my initial, regardless, you know, that sucks that his buddy passed away, but it was a 10-minute song that didn't really like.
Didn't need to be fucking 10 minutes though.
Could we have mourned in like more like a 5-minute format is kind of what it, but no, not to be insensitive about it, but it's still that was just my thought as listening to it, not knowing any background. It was long, and I don't have a problem with long as long as there's a reason for it to be long. I felt like a lot of that could have been crunched down better. And maybe it's because like he wanted to drown it out. He wanted to invoke that emotional state like he did. Art is art. If that's what he wanted to do, then kudos to him for doing it. For me, it just wasn't a track that I'll listen, especially since it's the last on the track. That'll be where I, okay, next album. So
fair enough.
But I'll give it another listen. Maybe you switched me over on it.
Yeah.
So
sometimes songs just need context, man. It can change the whole way. And it's so weird that they can do that sometimes. Is like just having a little bit of backstory can make the music make sense to you sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, that was the track by track. I think we can get into the pros and cons now.
All right. So mine's pretty simple. So pros, Travis. He's fucking amazing. The vocals on it really impressed me. And they impressed me because they're a style of vocals that I don't typically like. So really brought me out of my comfort zone on this album and got me into something I didn't think I'd be into. So kudos for that. That's probably the biggest pro on the album. I thought that the song structures were great. Guitar was amazing. The quality of recording was amazing. The production value. They didn't do too much of anything. And that's what I really appreciate about this album is they give you just enough. of most of it. Even that clean vocal thing he does it. If you go back and listen to the album, he didn't give it to you as much as we originally talked about as you think he did. It's like on 3 songs, if I remember, maybe 4. So you just get a good mix of everything. It's kind of like a historical lesson in freaking extreme metal, man.
Yeah.
The whole album. So I really like that. Cons, I think that that the album as it went on, as you got to probably a Photic Doom, track 8, 9, and 10 just really didn't do much for me. But I think they stand well on their own. I think it's more that the other tracks are just so good in comparison. So that's where I was with those ones.
Totally agree with you on the vocal standpoint. So to start off, I'll say that this album definitely made me a Cattle fan for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely going to dive into all their discography, and I can see why they're held so high in regards in the metal scene now. I get it. Another pro, the production was fucking great on this album. For those who don't know, this album was produced by Dave Otero, which has done quite a few of their albums to my understanding. I would say this album, Another Pro, was a very refined, honed in version of Cattle Decapitation. You know, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They didn't want to fuck around. They didn't want to showboat, you know, do the to the hellfire shenanigans. They just wanted to tell a story through a solid fucking death grind album, and they achieved that. Yeah, the highlight, obviously, Travis. His vocals are fucking top notch, dude. And you know what? To be doing this since roughly 96, 97, to be at his age 50, to stay relevant in an era of, you know, Taylor Barber and Will Ramos, and still be like one of the fucking top dogs vocally, even if everybody doesn't know better because they just don't know. Like that says something, dude. Like he's staying relevant. He's one of the best in the game. I have no problem saying that. It really comes down to just how skillful he is, and he uses it tactically the way he does it. So now going into the cons, and I mentioned this before, I would say some of the impish vocals might have benefited more from being, again, a more deeper, robust sounding vocal tone. But it wasn't off-putting to me. I actually enjoyed the vocals. I would say maybe not everybody would like them, but I would say most Cattle Decap fans are perfectly fine with them.
If you're not, you need to get off-putting.
Yeah. You need to get off. You're lost in the sauce, baby. You get off that pudding. You get lost in the sauce, man. I would say there were some songs where the transitions kind of lost some steam.
Yeah.
But aside from that, there's examples where it works. Like the Storm Upstairs is a good example of how it works. And then there was other tracks where it just didn't work out so well. The Insignificance would be my example of it not working, but we'll agree to disagree on shit. You like that
That's
song?
fair.
You have terrible taste in music. I don't give a fuck. Top 5 for me, straight up at number 1, dude, was going to be Scourge of the Offspring. At track number 2, I was going to give it to Solastalgia. Then track 3, Terrasite Adaptation. For number 4, gonna give it to the Storm Upstairs. And then lastly, because it hit home for me, Just Another Body. So I think we ranged pretty differently on this one.
Yeah, we were a lot different. So number 1 for me was a Photic Doom. I just thought it was well done song. And then I would put The Storm Upstairs at number 2, and then the first 3 tracks. Terrasite Adaptation, We Eat Our Young, and then Scourge of the Offspring. I think all of those songs stood well on their own. Lyrically, I like those songs. A lot of guitar parts. We had the solos in those songs. A lot of the meat I felt of the album was in those. And so we stopped kind of doing scores because they were getting kind of just ambiguous and really didn't make sense. But I will give this one a score. I give this one 9.5 Jeff Goldblum dick slaps. That's what it gets for me.
I give it, out of 5, I'm going to give it 4.5 dickless Jeff Goldblums, but also praying mantis that decapitates Jeff Goldblum while making love to him.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the other round. Maybe Jeff Goldblum decapitates whatever he fucks.
Who knows? There's only one way to find out. To hear this album again, I would definitely stand in a room and try to blow a dickless Jeff Goldblum.
Hand me that thing off the shelf, baby. Come on, baby, be somebody.
He can explain chaos theory to me like he did in Jurassic Park while I'm doing it. Let the water roll off my bald head.
Yeah. He's in the other room and you're sucking his dick off the shelf like in The Fly. All right. No, overall, great job, fucking Travis and band. Great review. Fucking love the album, and I'm excited to dive into more Cattle Decap.
Yep.
Guys, if you like this review, consider giving us a like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. It helps us keep going to do more of these reviews because, you know, we like when people give us feedback, whether it's positive or negative, and, you know, we take that to heart.
If you don't already, go on to Facebook and follow Super Metal Brothers Podcast. Search for our Star Wars meme that we posted. And what I want you to do is go into the comments and start a fight with all these people who are holding true that Darker Still is still a good album. I want you to go in there and tell them that they're all fucking stupid. Just do it.
No,
And,
I'll gatekeep the shit out of fucking Parkway. Anybody who's gonna fucking tell me that Darker Still is a superior album to fucking Horizons, you're high on fucking bath salts, dude. I don't give a fuck.
Maybe if the Parkway Drive existed as a band at all, never before that, you could say, "Oh, it's a pretty solid album." But in comparison to their original work, no, sorry, it just doesn't do it for me. If it does it for you, great. But if you agree with me, go into the comments of that video on Facebook. You know, subscribe to us, all that shit on YouTube and Facebook. And then go in there and just start a fucking war with all the people that think Darker Still was a good album.
Yeah, especially because there's a lot of Australian cunts in there that are pretty mad right now, dude. And fuck
Australia
them.
cunt.
Yeah.
One of them called us pussies, and he's accurate, but I don't like that he did it. He can't call me on the real, dude. Anyways, yeah, like we said, hope you enjoyed this review, and like and subscribe to everything, and peace out, word to your moms.
And I would say if you guys have a banger of an album, you know, let us review it. Give us some suggestions. What do you want to hear us talk about? What threads do you want us to go down? Following up on this, we'll do another Fresh Baked exploring some tech death. So look out for that, and we'll catch y'all later.